Almont Township meeting at 7 p.m. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Michelle, can you take roll call, please?
I certainly can. So starting with Kevin, who is absent. Nick.
Present.
Bonnie.
Present.
Tracy.
Present.
Dennis.
Here.
Tom is absent. Ida.
Here.
Caitlin.
Here.
And Corey is absent.
Next on the agenda is the minutes from September 10th, 2025. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes of September 10th, 2025 as presented. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I don't see any correspondence.
You have the letter from Andrea.
Acknowledging her resignation.
Oh, we do. Yeah, I don't have it.
That came earlier.
Yeah, way earlier in the month. Okay. Everyone saw that? Okay. Public comments. I don't think we're going to have any of those. Late agenda items.
I'd like to add way trim zoning ordinance update proposal as a late agenda items.
I thought Caitlin said she wanted to go over that during her report.
It can go either way.
Okay.
Wherever you want it. It doesn't matter. Whatever's better or easier.
If you
But
want
we
to
go on
make,
new business.
so if you want to make formal action, then it should be an agenda item. If it's
Yes,
more
new business.
informational, then it makes sense under report. So if you're looking for the planning commission to make a recommendation, then we should put it under late agenda items, new business.
Okay. I think we can leave it as a planner's report. All right.
Okay. We don't have any public hearings, no new business, old business, STE revised site plan. I don't know if we had to do.
So this piece of information, this site plan that's in front of you isn't formally needing any action. So this is something that you already did a contingent approval on, addressing some different items. And so this is an acknowledgement that we received a set of plans. We've been given the administrative all clear. And so it's looking for signature. And so Kevin, as chairperson, is Nick able to do that as vice chair in lieu of?
Yep. The
Okay.
stamp is there to stamp, date it, sign it, and they're good.
So we can do that
We can
afterward.
do that after.
You can do that afterwards.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll do that.
So we don't have to, I mean, Corey is recommending that their letter dated 10/20 or 10/3/25 on the dust control.
It is attached.
Yeah, do we
Did you
don't
see
need
it?
a motion for that?
No.
Okay.
It was in the original motion that the dust control was part of the, because I sent that out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Part of the approval.
It's just the
It
document.
was part of this, yeah, it was part of the site plan approval that dust control be addressed.
So instead of noting it on the site plan, they just
Send a letter
basically
to
gave an
attach it.
addendum.
So when you sign off on it, it's, okay,
Right.
got
He's
it.
going to stamp and sign that as well.
Okay.
And so it's up to you. We can talk about, it seemed like there's a little bit of confusion on the process for site plans. So we can talk about that now, or I can talk about it during my planner report, whatever, if you think that would be helpful.
Talk about it now, I think, yeah.
Okay, so just kind of starting from the beginning of the process. So we get an application administratively. IDA process it ensures that we get our fees and information. It's then provided to myself and Corey to do a review. Prior to that, my leaving of Roe, what we did was we did a initial review, which is where we verified the site plan was of competent material and ready for the planning commission. And then we would request a revised site plan if that was necessary. Are you still doing that first internal yay or nay from your consultant? Or did that kind of drop off?
As far as I understand, it comes to the board. If it's not ready, they send it back for revisions. And if it goes back for revisions, the planner and engineer again look at it to make sure that the revisions are there, or if there was any controversy there, or any questionable, it's been handled. And then it comes back to the board when the planner engineer says it's ready.
So I guess the question would be is in that initial review, do you want the consultants to be gatekeeping to say this isn't of worthy deport to be at the planning commission, or regardless of whatever that initial review finds, you still want it to come forward to you?
Personally, I think that the professionals, you and Corey, should make a recommendation whether it is or is not ready for planning commission review. Because we get, well, even with Southern Truck, we got into a debate and almost designing a site plan during a planning commission meeting. I don't want to be doing that. So if it's not ready for this is my opinion, this is just my input. If it's not ready for the PC, you guys say it's not ready, or Corey, either one of you or both of you, then I don't think it should be on the agenda.
According to the application, that's how it's supposed to work. The planner and the engineer tell us when it's ready to be presented to the board. And if it's a special land use and there's a two-part that you're looking at, then you can decide, like you did for STE, that you'll do one and then you can do the other.
Right. I think we approved this special land use
Yeah.
and tabled the site plan the first time, whatever that was.
Yep, so you can process applications at different speeds
Okay.
based on their competency level. So then once we comes to the planning commission, upon deliberation, when we postpone an approval, that means you expect it to come back to the planning commission. Once you do an approval or a denial, that's when it shouldn't necessarily come back on the agenda for a decision, because you already made a decision. You can't make multiple decisions on the same decision. You made a decision. And so one of the things that the previous administrations of the Planning Commission did is they added the administration verification at the Planning Commission level to do the final stamp and signature of these are the final plans. And so that is something very unique to Almont Township. I just following directions that were given a couple administrations ago. And it's up to you if you want to keep that process. What's more customary is that planning commissions, upon doing the contingent approval, is exclusively handled administratively. So if there was additional trees, if there was additional whatever components, it doesn't go on the agenda. It simply becomes my planning consultant or engineer gave an all clear letter, and then they contact the chair to say they're all ready to go, and either they come in on their own time, or at the next planning commission, maybe that's when it happens, final stamp and seal, but it doesn't make it to the venue of the entire planning commission again, because you already made that decision. And so it's up to you as a group if you want to keep our current process where you acknowledge that as an administration at the planning commission level, or if you would follow a more traditional layout in which that is all handled administratively.
I think that traditional approach would make it a little more timely for the applicant, because instead of having to wait, if they had the two contingencies fixed the following Monday, and Kevin could stop in and stamp and sign it, it could have been done. They wouldn't have to wait for the next meeting.
And I guess I don't know per se, I'll have to defer to Ida, but once we say they have the all clear, we're just waiting for Kevin's signature, they can still file building permits, correct?
You can do that, yes.
Yep,
In
so-
fact, as I know, we're working on the pre-construction with Davis right now.
I thought they were land clearing too, right now. Aren't they moving?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
got
so
a
we're
head
not
start,
holding
and they
them.
were
Okay.
chastised. They were chastised for that.
So,
They are working.
and even from site plans, some sites require additional engineering review and more rigor. So the signing of the plans doesn't slow the
Okay.
process. We're still processing those other steps. It's just, do you want to acknowledge it at this level? or
There's not another engineering review, is there? After this, I thought we did the full engineering review at the PC. At one time we
The
did.
only review the engineer would do is to confirm that the revisions comply with
so it doesn't kick it into another, because I know in other communities, then it gets into full engineering if there's water and sewer and those kinds of things. But in here, it doesn't. It get engineered at the same time as it gets site plan approval. Right. I'm good with the process that we have now. We're not holding them up. And
Yeah, as long as,
there's a reason why we set it in place, and I don't know what those reasons are, but
I think it was more to ensure that the revisions had followed through, that everything was in place, and they felt more comfortable with the full planning commission acknowledging the fact that the plans are accurate. But either way, you just let me know how it is you want to do it.
so that's different from what you just said, right, Bonnie?
so
So you're saying it would come back to the planning commission?
it did.
It is acknowledged by the
It's
planning commission.
acknowledged by the planning commission. Or you can just trust the planner and the engineer that, the revisions, I mean, you're gonna get a copy, a PDF anyways.
The
sent to you.
chairperson would still sign off either way.
Yes,
Correct.
so either way, either at a meeting or outside of a meeting.
I guess doing it the opposite way of what we're doing, that Caitlin decided, it would streamline the meeting even a little bit. It wouldn't even have to come up.
Because it does confuse applicants when they're like, wait, I'm on the agenda again.
Right.
And it's like, no, you don't need to come. We're just acknowledging the
Right.
signature. And so we can all be unique. That it's not something that violates our zoning ordinance. It's an administrative process and directive.
So you would have an administrative process, like Nick said, they could have everything fixed by the next Monday or whatever. Kevin would sign off on. Well.
Either way, we can't re-deliberate
Right.
it.
Correct. It would be inappropriate.
And that's what my question was earlier, because I didn't think there was any action item to be done. So we were just making sure that what we had requested actually got put on the plans, and then we were moving forward, so.
Because you do receive, Corey does prepare for you engineering reviews that kind of go over development. And so one of the things I think, I know he's done it for several years, but I don't know if when this policy was put in place quite where that fit. But that's one thing that you can still track a project, and it's transparency as well. As Corey does send you those update letters, so construction has started, they've completed their building reports. And so I think that was just another check-in point to make sure that the planning commission still had a pulse of what was going on in the community.
But we have to make sure the contingencies are specifically spelled out in the motion when the thing is approved.
Correct.
Okay, that's something we have not done a very good job on in the past. Because you'll see a motion that references a letter from the planner or the engineer. 10 years later, you go into the file and you can't find the two letters, but you got a site plan. So.
But you should be able to track those letters.
Yeah, well, I know we should,
Okay.
but I know we don't.
Well, and
Okay.
that's a different record keeping solution, right?
I'd
So,
like to see them in the motion.
so the other
There's
thing-
contingencies that should be in the motion.
because the other thing is that should be in the planning commission packet, and you keep
Right.
those on file. So even though it might not be in the site plan file, it should be still a governmental document that you have because it's part of the
I'd like to
packet.
see them in the motion, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
There should not be a lot of contingencies if it doesn't come before the planning commission until the engineer and the planner are saying it's good to go. So there wouldn't be a lot of contingencies to begin with.
Correct.
And then we end up with an as-built drawings, 99 times out of 10 from Corey. And does the chair sign off on an as-built? Yes, they do. No? Yes,
They
no?
just basically acknowledge it, because things happen out on a job site, as you're aware, that, you hadn't
Right.
anticipated. It makes a change here or there. Even with Pinecrest, everything was laid out, and then they started the project and they ended up making a few changes. So
Yeah, I understand that.
it happens. So
Yeah.
we just try, I know Corey tries very hard to get an as-built if there's significant changes to a site plan.
But the chair doesn't sign those.
No.
But we do get a final copy. correct. But that's not something that comes back to the planning commission other than noted in
Well,
Corey's
a
report.
previous chairman requested that an as-built be brought before the planning commission so that they could look at it, make sure that the changes are compliant with our ordinance or within the scope of work that it was being done.
So for significant changes on site, obviously it's more than just engineering sometimes. Is there a planner consult on these things then for
If it
order?
becomes a concern of Corey's, he would definitely, notify the planner, and he would be in conversation with the chair to let them know that this didn't happen or can't happen because of these reasons, and this is the change.
So from my standpoint and the understanding of how this rolls is if it's significant, it has to come back. But if it's minor in scope and it still stays within the purview of the approval,
The scope of the work.
right, and the scope of the work, then it's just a field change. But we always get as-built on every project. There's an as-built because you're never going to hit those grades exactly. You're never going to hit everything. So there's always an as-built that's required because what's on paper is not what necessarily you're going to get, but it should be close.
And your zoning ordinance doesn't speak to this, and other zoning ordinances that we audit and improve, there should be a site plan amendment section that clarifies what is a minor amendment that can be handled administratively versus what is a major amendment, which requires review by the entire planning commission. So in your current site plan article, you don't have that provision in there.
So we need to add it. Okay.
But that is something that there is a solution. We just need to include it.
Right. I like that. So when we get into your discussion here in a few minutes in your reports, that will fix that problem?
Oh, we will have lots of fixes, yes.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a lot of fixes.
There's going to be lots of fixes. So just to reiterate then, it sounds like the general consensus is to keep the process currently how it's been processed. And you'll gatekeep reviews to ensure that they are competent for the planning commission, myself and Corey. We will continue to acknowledge at the planning commission level the signature or it's been completed. And then as development comes up, that's something that's at the discretion of the township engineer, Corey, to kind of come back and circle back when necessary. Is that accurate? Okay,
Sure. Yeah.
very good.
Draft solar energy ordinance.
So Bonnie and I spent about an hour. We've closed everything out with Roe. We have some confusion on some of the documentation, but I think we got it straightened out tonight. So I'm going to take what I have on my computer that Bonnie and I put in with Roe. We closed everything out with Roe on September 22nd. I'm going to take all the edifications out, take all the different colors in there out, get it back to a black and white document. It is right now about 12 or 13 pages long.
Probably 12.
Probably 12 by the time we're done. And I want to get it to all the planners well in advance of the November meeting because it needs some more eyes on it, I think. There's going to be some open questions on it for consensus from the planning commission. And then probably defer to Caitlin as the next step. I don't know. There's public hearing, there's board approval, there's attorney reviews and stuff like that. And then if we go forward with the ordinance rewrite with Wade Trim, that would get incorporated because the format follows our current ordinance, and we're going to see a format change with the.
But we would want to adopt it now because we don't want to wait for the rewrite. We want to get that as law now so that we're protected for that piece of the.
But I really want to impress on the planners. Unfortunately, we're missing two to take a good look at this thing because Bonnie and I have beat it to death for over a year. I think we may miss something, and you're going to have questions. And there's gonna be things that we're gonna come back and say, we need a consensus from the full planning commission before we finalize, so.
Do you, are you planning on bolding that out as far as the main points you want consensus in like the email, just so then it makes it
Yes.
easier for everyone to ponder? I want
Yeah.
verification on setbacks. I want verification on the noise provisions or the
Right.
fire
I don't
protection
think
plan.
there's a lot.
Okay.
I think there's setbacks. I think we have to work on accessory requirements as part of the plan, as part of the ordinance, not as part of the solar ordinance,
Oh, okay.
okay? I think those are the two that I remember.
We want to develop an application.
Application, fees, and then you've got residential requirements and you've got commercial
Commercial.
requirements.
So we've kind of melded the residential and the commercial in some areas, so we've touched the whole section but really hit the commercial large scale cell, the electricity part. So, yeah, I don't think there's a lot, but again, like Dennis said, we've been looking at this thing for too long, so we need somebody else to look at it now and say, what are you thinking? Or, gee, looks great. So,
And just so I know my expectations, I know that I appreciate my input being provided, but I know I would be the third professional planner looking at it. Would you prefer me to provide context in writing based on the deliberation to kind of help you sort out those few points? Because I don't, every planner has their own personal preference. And so I really don't want to make everyone take back steps if I'm like, oh, I'd really think this is a better tactic, as opposed to, would you like me to focus in on my critiques on what your general consensus is and just be ready to answer, is there a different number or a different pro and con there?
if you think that there's something that we really need to address, then I don't want to just leave that in the corner and ignore it, because if it needs to be addressed, let's address it.
Okay.
So for sure, yeah.
And I think too, Caitlin, and I wanted to fire back to Roe, but I decided not to, was an application fee, was a host community fee per megawatt. And then I thought there was a third, I think we got to look at the fees.
But those fees you don't want in your ordinance. You want that in your township fee schedule. Okay, just making sure that you weren't putting it in there, because you want that to fluctuate on an annual basis with your fee schedule. So
we have.
The only thing we have in there right now is an attorney deposit, escrow deposit for their review on the host agreement.
I would still put that on your fee schedule. I wouldn't even put that in the ordinance, so you can adjust it at a whim per year. And if we actually get an application, I think that's probably the easiest way to process.
So MTA, I don't remember MTA recommending a fee $1 per megawatt. I thought they did.
Yep, and you can
As
put that
opposed
in
to
your fee schedule,
Put that in the fee
but
schedule.
not in the ordinance, because if you ever need to change it, let's say one comes in 5 years, well,
Right.
prices only go up, unfortunately.
Okay.
So again, taking a number is good. It makes it measurable and adaptable to the project scale. However, you don't want it to be locked in time. That's why you put it in your fee schedule.
Okay, so we're going to reference the fee schedule for those.
So little things like that I'll point out anyway as full service adaptations, but like definition, minor critiques, I was going to try to stay away from those, even if I have personal preferences.
Works. Caitlin?
In your packet, one of the things that was requested in the last meeting was doing a zoning ordinance update. So included is a comprehensive update of the zoning ordinance. I think Dennis, it probably makes the most sense to recircle it to you then if there, I guess, is questions or concerns about that proposal, or you had mentioned to me potentially different approach to phasing. And so I guess I'd like to turn it to you to kind of articulate to the group what you were kind of thinking.
Okay, so the contract, Caitlin, and I mentioned it to Gary this morning. I thought we could phase it by. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. The audit is a 5-month, 5-month schedule, basically, right? 5 to 6 months in that time frame.
Yep.
what do you get out of an audit? Wouldn't that define the detail of how you're gonna do the ordinance? Wouldn't the audit, you're gonna spend 5 months with the subcommittee team, right? Doing the audit. And the audit is pretty much, because in your milestone chart, you overlaid that with working on a draft, right?
Correct.
About 2 months or
Yep.
one?
And it depends on the speeding of it as well. So the audit, what this is doing is it's trying to be a way of tracking potential edits or policy decisions. And it makes it for a systematic discussion to talk per article. So for example, when we talk about, I guess just quickly going through your site plan informational requirements, it doesn't talk anything about amendments that are major or minor. And so that would be something our audit would flag and say, so these are minors and these are majors. And so the audit provides you policy options, and that's what the subcommittee would review. So it is, but some of my communities, I'll mention, do you want to have landscaping requirements for retention and detention ponds? And they go, no, but you can. And that's okay, but that's something I'm going to bring in the audit, and then I say, no, thank you. Same thing with like tree replacement credits. I don't think you're a candidate for it, but I'm going to educate you on that is a mechanism some communities choose to do. And so that's what the audit kind of helps you figure out, the high level purging components. One of the things, the fee schedule, the subcommittee meetings are actually under the meeting task as opposed to under the audit task. So the audit is my time of spending going through your entire ordinance and saying, here's your holes, here's where it could be better. And
Independent of the subcommittee?
independent of the subcommittee, I come to the subcommittee with your punch list to say, here's what I found. What do you think?
Okay.
So most of the legwork is all my end. And that's why we propose that we could start working on it now if you wanted the audit, but then wait till the holiday season, actually start working with that subcommittee. And then all that legwork's done. So based on the systematic going through it, once I get the comments from the subcommittee, the next step is to start drafting. So that's why the schedule can kind of overlap.
Right.
Because we'll go through the, in my opinion, the easier administrative content first to get into the groove of it. So site plan reviews, special land use, nonconformities, those articles are all more or less straightforward. They're not difficult to go through. So we'll start with those, and then that'll be draft ones, and that's then what can come to the planning commission. Correct.
So your project schedule says basically us proposing starting subcommittee meetings in January.
Correct.
Okay.
So I would do all the audit legwork during our holiday season, but it's hard to, and it depends too on the schedule would modify if we do the rapid fire approach based on the subcommittee membership. If we meet every 2 weeks, and then just knock it out in 2 months, if we can get it done in 4. Or is that something that you would like to have an hour or 2 hours before every planning commission meeting? And that's something that we coordinate. So that's why the schedule is a tentative idea, even
Yeah.
if you meet once a month. These are intended to be 2 hours of content. And for when we did this for several other clients, you fly through the content because I give you the audits a week ahead of time. Everyone does their homework, and I explain pro con. Some of these are going to be really easy yes, no's, and others are going to be, I'm not sure, I'd like to see it drafted. No problem. Then I'll say, see drafted, or I'll ask, we don't know what accessory building changes make sense, so we'd like to flag that and just talk with the planning commission. No problem. We'll just flag that and not have a decision at this point, and we'll just make sure that's a very big point when it comes to the planning commission. So as we go through draft ones, I'll have highlighted major policy shifts or new information, and that way the planning commission, though you can read through the audits, we're trying to have a more collective conversation of it. It's worked really well in Almont Township when we've been doing their audit process. Yeah. As far as being straightforward, and everyone feels like part of that discussion. That's the most important thing, is everyone doesn't feel like, well, wait a minute, when did we went from minimum parking requirements to maximum? I have a client that's literally their problem. Their previous consultant switched them from minimum parking to maximum parking, which is a very big policy difference. And they go, I don't know when this happened. oops. And so that's really important to me. I hate hearing about those experiences. And so you'll see in that draft one, and that's why it's brought in front of the entire planning commission for those chapters.
So when you anticipate a subcommittee meeting in January, you would come with you would provide the subcommittee 2 weeks in advance of your findings.
Yep. And we're not going Article 1 to Article 12. I have a systematic way I audit it and then present it to you. So that way our decisions build onto each other.
Okay, and it will mirror what Attica did?
Yes, Attica did a very similar process for their subcommittee process.
Has everybody looked at it?
But they did a subcommittee route as well. Almont Township, we're almost done with theirs. They did a subcommittee route as well. And we should be done in the next couple months.
Well, Attica's looked pretty good. I think Ida loved Attica's compared to what we got today.
It's just much easier to go through, comprehend, finding things were easier. And I liked some of the language that was in there as well.
We're going to come across issues, which we already did, and we did this, I don't know, back in the first shot, April. I don't know. There's going to be issues that has to be addressed by the engineer. You'll come across some of those, don't you think? I think you will. Okay, so
So one of the things that I do is that I flag different partners for different components. Okay. And so if there's something, let's say, specifically technical with mining, that's usually something I always tap an engineer for. Then I would reach out to Corey and say, so these are the 3 things I would like your opinion on. Same thing with municipal attorney is you can have your attorney review the entire zoning ordinance. That is beyond the scope of my proposal. But I can also tell you these are the sections that attorneys care about. And we want to make sure your attorney's on board to make it defensible for you. And I outline those so that way you're not doing the entire ordinance, but you're doing sections where we really want to make sure we're talking all the same language.
Good.
is there any need to try to track the revised ordinance with the old ordinance for future reference, or does that not?
No, so because the township's articulated to me is that there's a lot of stuff we're changing. And one of the biggest things with your old one to the new one is we're reorganizing it. We're moving sections.
So it's good.
And so from a regulatory standpoint, if you ever look at a violation, you're going to go to the last version and then whatever that date is. And then you're going to say, well, now this is the new one. And so you don't have to track, well, we move this content over here. Now the audit will help you discern that, because that will be a comment in my audit, is all of the parking requirements that's in the table of uses are going to be relocated into Article 7, the off-street parking requirements. So there is a way,
Tracking.
so there is some level of tracking. It's not in other audits that I've done with other firms. Sometimes it would be color coding and different things, and at the end of the day, it's more confusing than helpful. And so what I tried to do is say, the audit's going to help us generally guide in there. But ultimately, what really matters is the language reads how you want it to read. We always take the original language and try to beef it up from there. But if we miss something when we were looking through a track change and then it says something different, doesn't make sense. Well, if I showed you it with all this other junk there, we wouldn't have missed it. And so that's why I do think looking at the clean versions has been much better as an end product, because everyone's reading it saying, I understand what this says and I like what this says. And so we acknowledge the past, but we're really more focused on the future. What do we want this regulation to be?
And if it's presented to the planning commission section by section, we're bringing them along as these move as well.
Correct.
So I see that probably as a benefit. But if you're presenting this revised, revamped document to us, right, you're going to say, where'd it go? Right, but if we're being brought along, I think that will be helpful. So we're not looking at the whole thing at the end. It's being fed to us piece by piece, and I think that's probably the best way to do it if we're revamping and reorganizing the whole thing.
And we do try to do it in a way that builds upon each other. So we start with all of the general requirements first. So the junk drawer of general provisions. We do the landscaping, we do parking, because something that we find commonly in the use requirements is we find a duplicate requirement. So we have additional landscaping or meet our exterior lighting. And it's like, well, wait a minute.
You also have conflicts.
You have sometimes conflicts or special provisions for that use. So my biggest issue has been is some communities in their use, they'll say, well, you can have gravel. Well, can't everything in ag have gravel? And so we have that policy discussion, and that's something we fix in the audit of off-street parking is if you're an ag, you can have gravel parking. Here's the gravel parking requirements. And then we can purge it from all the other use sections. So we do have a method behind our madness. I know sometimes it's hard to explain, but once you get going into it and it layers, you go, oh, I understand. The intent is everyone understands where we're going. But that's the method behind the madness there.
So I don't know who's interested in being on this subcommittee. I wish we had the full board here tonight. We don't.
Well, I've already raised my hand, so.
I would volunteer to gladly step aside if somebody else is.
I would be interested, just depending on the timeline.
Right.
You know, just with kids and whatever, you know, if it's once a week, you know, I'm probably out.
I don't think you're anticipating once a week, are you?
You know, once a month before the meeting, for me personally is, you know, fairly easy because I already have the meeting day chiseled out.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, whether I come here at 5 or 7, for me personally, but if someone else is more available or more interested.
I certainly, as zoning administrator, would like to be on it because I just need to hear what's going on so that it's, when you go to implement it or enforce it, I know what I'm doing. I know the intent of the planning.
I think Gary would be supervisor. I talked to him this morning. I've talked to him a couple of times. I wanted to make sure before I came to this meeting. So, okay. So we're going to talk about it at the board meeting Monday night as a board discussion. I anticipate a hard sell because of the cost. That would put us into November for approving whatever the board will do, the funding part of it.
And there's different ways we can do it. One of the things we can do is we can make sure that there's an intentional phase 1 and a phase 2 if we're trying to saddle 2 different fiscal years. So we can always make sure that the audit and the subcommittee composition happens in that first, or in this current 2026 fiscal year, but we don't do anything with the planning commission or the draft ones until we get to the second one, which is about 50% of that scope anyway. So that is something that we could say if we wanted to do, and I can easily make sure that that's something that I regulate on myself, is to have that in that phased approach if we need to saddle 2 fiscal years. That's one thing that we can do.
I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Okay.
What is the fiscal year here?
July. July is the beginning.
July
Yeah,
1, right?
Yeah, July, June.
That's a lot of straddling if we start in.
It's not too bad though, because that's the beauty, I guess, of doing all of the subcommittee audit components is I'm recording our decisions. And so as long as you're doing all of those audits together, you can have a similar train of thought, and then you do the drafts all together and have a similar thought of building into each other. Those 2 processes need to stay together or stay within each other. You do not want to do an audit for 1 month and then take a 4-month hiatus and then come back to it. It makes it very difficult to be consistent.
Well, if it's split 50-50 though, if the 12-month timeline, I mean, realistically, we're not going to start this until December, January anyways. That gives you 6 months.
The contract is a lump sum payment. That's what the contract says, right?
But we still
Oh, I thought it
invoice,
said in here that it's billed as work is completed.
yep, so it is a lump sum contract, but it is a billed at a monthly basis.
Oh, okay.
So it's not asking for all of it. And that's why I said I can self-regulate to say, my understanding is phase one, in which I would only do the subcommittee and audits before the next fiscal year.
Well,
And
it's
then
not
you just
time-
do the
it's not
later.
time and
phase
material.
years, fiscal years anyway.
It's not time and material is what she's saying. So
Yeah.
it's going to be this regardless if it takes her 2 minutes or 29 minutes, right? So there you go.
Yeah, it's fixed cost, but billed as it's completed.
Yep. Not to exceed 29.5.
It won't be less either.
So would
Won't
you,
exceed it, but it won't be under it.
No, well, not with a lump sum.
okay. So you would anticipate, per Nick's suggestion, is an hour or 2 hours prior to the planning commission meeting once a month?
We can do that, yep. So one of the things is if you do it the 1 hour before, that will impact the number of meetings because it's anticipated that there would be 2 hour meetings typically.
For a month.
Correct. However, if you're saddling it on when I'm already here for a planning commission meeting, I've seen it more or less washing. So it might take more time to some extent, but if I'm already here for a planning commission meeting, I don't see that being a major issue from that standpoint.
I don't think you're
2 a
going to get
month?
much
2 a
done in an
month? Could
hour.
you do 2?
Oh, what, 2 days?
Yeah.
Possibly, depending on when they are.
2 Wednesdays a month kind of a thing?
Yeah, probably.
And that's something we do propose to make them hybrids as well. We will have in-person meeting at Township Hall is the intent, but I also have it available on Teams. So let's say if it was somebody was off on vacation or at a conference or a work trip and they wanted to still attend it, they can attend it. Sometimes I've had fire officials come in just for one specific topic. So I'm happy to have other spotlight interest people. If you want your ZBA chair to be there for the ZBA and audit, I mean, we know when we're going to be talking about it because I'll send you the packet beforehand, but we can have those people drop in and drop out. We do want a core subcommittee member just to be consistent over time, but we can always drop in different individuals. If I've had township board members that aren't on the subcommittee but drop in for a very specific topic. So they were really concerned about how we were addressing accessory buildings. And so I said, yep, come for our discussion on it, provide that feedback. Because we'd rather draft it and have the audit results once, not go back and forth because we didn't have your input. So there is some flexibility built
Makes
in there.
sense.
Well, go ahead. I'd like to participate. Is it okay to have 3 members from the planning commission?
You can, so it's not a quorum still. So
Right.
the biggest thing is once you have quorums, then you really got to have it be a meeting. Now, can we notice for it? Sure. That's just a township
So there are
process
3 of
then.
us, and Bonnie is our ZBA rep, Ida and Gary. Okay.
Yep.
See what happens.
Yep, so as long as you don't have quorum, you don't have to have like minutes. So most of my subcommittees, we don't have minutes because we aren't actually making decisions. We are making recommendations. So once it becomes an official meeting though, now we have to do minutes, now we have to do different other things.
You could have another from the township board even, if they were interested. Someone else from the township board as well, because it would
Yeah.
still only put you at 3.
Yeah.
If you
I
could
think
get
that's going to be a
somebody.
challenge, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm just, if when you went in, if you just had that, at least had the, because you never know, somebody might.
They've got everything in email, so we'll talk about it Monday night, but
Right.
Gary did make a commitment. The only one I got.
He liked his little stint on the planning commission.
Most of the township board has been on the planning commission. So, and that's where we can just say, what is your pet projects you'd like input on? And so Rick Dodge can come in and talk about if he's really concerned about how we divide up zoning districts on the zoning map. He can be there for that discussion.
He's going to want to talk about zoning map development. 2 things, and then I'm done with this. I talked to some of the board members today. This may require a lawyer, our attorney to review.
Sure.
And I am not going to be the owner. It'll be, I don't know what the owner's going to be. It won't be me. I don't know. want to make a $30,000 commitment here.
Sure.
Okay, so that will be, I think, pretty much settled Monday night in board discussion.
Okay.
Nothing will be voted on. So if it goes to the attorney, hopefully we'll get it back from, I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's a one-pager,
Yes.
right? And then we identify, who should the owner be? Gary, the township supervisor?
So sometimes we have the authorizer to be
Township
the township supervisor. We can change that in the short-term contract
Okay.
for it.
All right, so I anticipate, Caitlin, a tough sell. I think from what I've looked at on the reference back to Attica Township, it's a significant improvement. So I think it's worth the money to me, but I'm one member of the board, so I don't know the consensus from the planning commission. Like I said, I wish we had 7 members here tonight, but I think we should be able to start by January. Hopefully we can sell the board on it in November.
Yep, and then I do need
No, and
some level of notice too to make sure I can do the audit.
Right.
So if we're doing it on a monthly basis, I need less lead time because I'm doing a certain portion. Rapid fire, I need all of it more done, just to make sure that I'm being timely, giving you your audit material before you have that subcommittee meeting.
What's the definition of rapid fire again?
Rapid fire is the idea that you meet every 2 weeks. So Emily Township did it that way. Attica did more of a monthly basis with their subcommittee. They found they wanted to knock it out in 2 months, as opposed to doing it over the course of 4 or 5 months. Again, these are 2-hour meetings, and because you have your homework, you have the audit, it makes it very straightforward to say yes, no, explain this more. Okay, we like yes, no, or this variation. So these meetings do move quite quickly. You can
Yeah, it
get
doesn't
through.
have to be set.
You can get through about 4 articles per meeting easily.
we took 2 hours on 1/3 of one article.
But you do have me. I'm definitely know my way around a zoning ordinance and all therein. We've also developed internally within our own team. We've developed our own checklists. So it takes a cross sampling of 3 or 4 of my professional planners at the firm. So it makes it very easy for one person to go, what are the best practices of the industry? So we find that that's been very effective in providing a quality product.
Some of our problem when we did it, we didn't have any guidance and we were just, we were beating the dead horse.
Yep. So there is ways to do things, and I will provide those ways, and I will provide you the pro con of those, and I can say those off the top of my head. And so I'm more or less a zoning junkie. So I will lead you through this effort, and just kind of let me know if you have questions about it. I'll try to attend that Monday meeting, just to kind of field any questions by the township board. But I anticipate this is going to be a collaborative effort.
I will try to feel that out so that you don't have to attend Monday.
Okay.
Okay? I think, sounds like you've got a full agenda. So I'd like to survey each member of the planning commission that we have here relative to the cost to do the job. Tracy?
I mean, it's a lot, but it needs to be done, so. I think it-
Yes, that Monday night. What's the
Right.
consensus of the PC?
Yeah, I think it needs to be done.
Okay, Nick?
I think it needs to be done as well. I mean, we've been talking about it and trying to nibble at it and haven't got anywhere, and our zoning ordinance is a nightmare, so.
Well, and it's a complete rewrite. So you also have to think about that. It's not just zoning ordinance assistance. It's a complete rewrite, which needs to be done. So I'm 100% on board.
That's what I needed.
Caitlin, the information that you share with the committee, is that something that the OPC gets to look at?
They can. With the draft ones, I provide you a copy of the completed audit with the decisions. So you can follow along with the audit. So you can see that we said no to the tree credits like option. But I don't go into the audit in depth because I find that's what the subcommittee did. They validated things, or if they said, maybe that requires more discussion, we flagged that at that point in time. So it makes it more productive planning commission meetings.
So back to Bonnie's question, rapid fire versus,
And you don't have to decide now. We can wait till the full
Subcommittee
subcommittee is
gets
more or less
together, yeah.
aligned, and then we can.
I want to be thorough, Caitlin. And rapid fire is not conducive in my mind to thorough.
Okay.
Okay, that's just my opinion.
Well, and Bonnie just mentioned too, we don't have to do once a month. We can do it could be every 3 weeks. Yeah. We're not stuck to,
Flexible.
right.
Yep,
I'm
especially
flexible.
if holidays come
Well,
up.
we can kind of make the schedule once we form
Yes.
the
Yeah.
committee and even see what everyone's availability is.
Right. And we got Caitlin's schedule to work around too.
Corey's not here. ZBA?
Nada. Nada? Do I have nada?
You have nada.
Nada.
Zoning and building?
I have nothing other than the solar ordinance for next month. Has anyone got anything else coming up? I did hear from the engineer that approached you, was it last month before, regarding the gas station at 42. They called me today. They're working on their traffic impact study.
Oh, good.
I let them know where they can find it in our ordinance, follow that, because that's what we have now. So, and I did give them Caitlin and Corey's phone number, because if they need something more specific, then, make
So
sure.
they've made an application?
They're working at it.
So to make an application, they're gonna have to come back on that traffic impact study.
Yeah.
And that's what they're working on now. So,
I think Corey said they were in talks with the health department for septic.
Yes.
Yeah.
She says they have been,
Some borings out there?
yeah, so,
There's site validation, so it's very common for gas stations. You do those preliminary evaluations before you submit or an actual site plan review.
Seemed like it wasn't their first rodeo.
Yeah.
With the
No.
presentation
not with these people.
with the
No, 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 no.
presentation they brought. I mean, we get some people that
No.
come and
Right, yeah, it
kind of,
wasn't their
It
first.
is.
yeah, I'm gonna do this.
It is their first rodeo.
It's kind of their thing.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be consulting with Corey or Caitlin without an application fee, right?
I did tell them that. I said, you have to make your application. But I said, if you get into that and you still don't understand, or if there's questions, then you refer to the planner and the engineer. I cannot give you anything more than what the ordinance tells you. So if they're looking for direction, because she says, well, what do you want? Just MDOT? And I'm going, whatever the ordinance requires, that is what we're going to be looking for. And the engineer is more detailed, so I'm sure that he'll approach, the planner and the engineer if he needs, more information.
Excuse me, Ida, what property address was that again?
4260 Van Dyke.
42660.
60, yeah.
Thank you.
Comments? Tracy?
Good job tonight.
Bonnie?
Good job tonight. And I did send out everybody, so somebody mentioned, I think it was Dennis, about having sample motions on our agenda. So I did send out a sample motion agenda. Did anybody, looks terrible, looks wonderful?
I saw it and liked it, but it seems like every site plan is so specific, it's hard to have a generic. And I think going back to, if we do have something, getting a sample from Caitlin.
So the first part is easy. The contingencies, that's what's going to be and that's why a lot of the historic planning commissions, you refer to the letter, and then it would be easier to discuss its remainder letter of A, B, Z, F, Y, number 1, 2, 3. And so it made it easier to cross-reference or pre-draft those notices, because then I just have a simple fill in the blank. But I do understand that usually we can do the main motion. It's just all the contingencies we have fill in the blanks. So even if you're looking at your packet and you say, I'm really worried about the exterior lighting or whatever, you can still write it on your worksheet, sample
Right.
motion. For some communities, we provide that with the analysis. For like Emily's City, I provide a separate suggested motion cheat sheet that goes over the entire meeting. And that one's provided internally at the meeting. So it's not necessarily a worksheet you bring home. It's more brought in front of you for the entire meeting. So that's other ways I know that we've dealt with that as well.
I think we've been getting better about contingencies. They seem to be smaller and smaller.
That's what it should be, I think.
No, yeah, but I think we're self-policing fairly well. I agree. It's even better if we don't have to have any. But sometimes when you do have something small,
Something comes up.
dust
during the
control or a couple trees, it's
Yeah.
to delay another
7 trees.
another month. Dennis?
Good.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll support that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned, 7:56 PM.
Need your stuff signed? Welcome. Thanks for coming. What are we saying here? Just attended?
Just your name, I believe, and the date.
Yep. Because the teacher just verifies it with who's on the public record. I never get to sign one.